Fun times, technical difficulties. I'm a lawyer. I don't know what I'm doing over here. Apologies to all. My camera got. Hey, it could be worse. You're here. I'm here. It's working now. Things are okay. Yeah. So it looks like everybody can hear me. Oh, Will, nice choice. Okay. So while we're waiting for everybody to get over from there, if you can hear me, which it sounds like you can, tell me in the chat where on this mote of dust in a sunbeam you are watching from. I always like to know that. And while we wait, you can see I'm eligible for super chats. I haven't figured out how to get money from that yet, from YouTube. It'll happen. Don't worry about it. Last time, I think I promised to answer any question or comment that came up with a super chat over $5. I was going to try to do that again, but I think with the technical difficulties and with Rick Santorum and everything we got to talk about with his idiotic nonsense, we may not have time to do it. I got some good hair too. I was like stressed out when it wasn't working. I was like literally pulling my hair out. So, okay, let me move that other YouTube thing over and out of the way so that it's not ruining this. Nope, come on. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm relaxing now. I'm feeling better. So first, most important, well, you should get those super chats in too, because I only have now 25 minutes before I'm going to a private Zoom with all the lovely folks who support me over on Buy Me a Coffee. But I will try to answer those questions even if you don't do a super chat. First, most important, what are you drinking? I'm drinking Green Spot Irish whiskey. It's been that kind of a day. It just really has. We got everybody all over the place here. Canada even. New Mexico, lovely state. So, second of all, Rick Santorum, huh? And he's a senior political commentator over at CNN. And it's not like we didn't know he was a bigot when they hired him in 2017. Right? Even a cursory Google search for Rick Santorum would reveal his bigotry. So if you didn't see Santorum's speech or the clip of his speech to the Young America's Foundation, the Young America's Foundation event, something like that, somebody can post it in the chat for me. I'd appreciate it so people can go check it out. I'll put it in the description when I figure out why this didn't work. But his speech was quite literally a textbook example of Christian nationalism. Like literally I included it in my book. It's like a textbook example. He lays out this clear transition from our country was based on Judeo-Christian principles like the Mosaic Law and the Ten Commandments to saying that our founding documents are based on those principles to then dehumanizing, erasing, and minimizing Native Americans, all of them. It was breathtaking bigotry. And I don't really want to read it verbatim. Hopefully you saw it. Somebody will post it. But he goes from those Judeo-Christian principles right into the bigotry. It's just this, again, this textbook example. It's really worth watching for that. He talked a lot about European settlers coming here because they weren't allowed to practice their particular faith in their own country. And then goes on to say that that's the same as coming here for religious freedom. I'll get into that in just a moment. No, Keith, Rick is not a woodworker. Keith, however, in the super chat over there, is a very talented woodworker. And for those of you who don't know, I dabble in that a little bit. I'm a dilettante, and he and I have chatted about that from time to time. So then Santorum goes on to say they couldn't practice their faith, Judeo-Christian principles, 10 commandments. We birthed the nation from nothing. I mean, there was nothing here. I mean, yeah, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there wasn't much Native American culture in American culture. It was born of a people who came here pursuing religious liberty, to practice their faith, to live as they ought to live, and to have the freedom to do so. Religious liberty. Those are the two bulwarks of America, faith and freedom. That's what he said. I mean, really stunning stuff. But not if you know Christian nationalism, right? Christian nationalism is and has always been bigoted. The idea that America is founded on a Christian nation is not really up for historical debate. Historians have settled that issue long ago. We were not founded as a Christian nation. The claims are meant to rewrite our history to justify hateful exclusionary and bigoted policies and power grabs right here and now. That's what Christian nationalism is about. That's what rewriting the history is about. And it goes down to even, the kind of more minor, seemingly popular claims. So, for instance, Santorum really relies heavily on the idea that the settlers came here seeking religious freedom. And he's talking about the Puritans and the Pilgrims, but he's wrong, right? Because fleeing persecution, which he touches on at first, is not the same as seeking religious freedom. And I explain this in the founding myth, and the distinction really is crucial. Fleeing religious persecution is not the same as seeking religious freedom. Oh my gosh, Will, thank you very much. Much appreciated for that support, my friend. Will, if he has a question, let's see. He wouldn't let me send a... Well, okay, yeah, so Will wants to see me debate Rick Santorum. I would love to debate Rick Santorum. He's actually a trained lawyer, so I would love to... Maybe CNN would air it. That'd be a lovely bit of penance for putting this clown on the air and paying him probably a pretty hefty salary. So, okay, let's just take the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims, for instance, fled persecution in England. That is true. But they didn't come to America when they fled. They actually went to Leiden in Holland, where the government tolerated their minority religion and gave them more religious freedom than was available anywhere else in Europe at the time. So much so that people were like, hey, your monochromatic, super stringent faith is like not for me. We're going to go like explore over there. People were leaving the faith. And so the founders, the fathers got together and they said, okay, well, we got to do something. We got to get out of here. So they fled to the New World, not because they were seeking religious freedom. They didn't want religious freedom. Freedom was, they already had it, and it wasn't enough because everybody else was free too. So the Pilgrims didn't want religious freedom. They wanted a government that would enforce their particularly strident, stringent, violent brand of Christianity. And we can say the same things of the Puritans, who regularly banished and executed people over theological disagreements when they got here to set up their little government in the New World. Rich just sent in $10 because he enjoys the hangouts and would love to see me debate those politicians. Cheers, Rich. I would as well. Thank you. So let's turn to the Puritans for just a sec, because they waged a holy war on the Pequots, one of the native tribes that Rick Santorum just erased from American history with his bigotry, just blithely wrote them out. The Puritans committed a genocide against them and were acting like, oh, they didn't have any contributions. Gee, I wonder why, Rick. Anyway, the Puritans waged a holy war on the Pequots. And again, I talk about this in the founding myth. They set fire to a village on the Mystic River, a Pequot village. They killed 700 Native American men, women, and children. And then they sold the survivors into slavery. I mean, this is like something right out of the book of Joshua. And the Puritans saw it that way. They saw it as this biblical, God-commanded holy war. John Mason, who was the Puritan militia commander, wrote just a completely unashamed account of the slaughter. And he said that his God laughed while his men slaughtered. This is what he wrote, quote, God was above them, who laughed his enemies and the enemies of people to scorn, making them as a fiery oven. And that's just a haunting illusion today. And then he concludes, thus did the Lord judge among the heathen, filling the place with dead bodies. I mean, really let that sink in. And if the biblically sanctioned genocide seems remote today, seems impossible today, think back to the Christian nationalist mob that swarmed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. One of the primary organizers of that rally was a group called the Jericho March. They organized a bunch of rallies and marches leading up to January 6th, and they named themselves after the Battle of Jericho, in which the biblical God commands the sack and slaughter of every living being in an entire city. Kill everything that's living, take the gold, except for that one prostitute who helped us sack the city and kill everybody in it. She and her family can live. They named themselves after a genocide. And I cover the ties between Christian nationalism, including the Jericho March and January 6th, in a new epilogue for the paperback of The Founding Myth, Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American. That paperback is due out in August, everybody, and it's actually available for pre-order right now. I had a link in the other Amazon info page. I don't know where it went. It's like an Amazon bit.ly link. I'll put it down below later on. But you can pre-order the Founding Myth paperback where I talk about this with the new epilogue now. And I mean, look, I could go on like this. I've already gone on for 10 minutes. Look, I have a captive audience. What are you going to do? I mean, there's so much wrong with what Santorum said. Our Constitution is not based on Judeo-Christian principles. Give me a book. I wrote a whole book about it. Give me a break. I wrote a whole book about it. I'm getting excited. Can you tell I get excited about this? I get angry. I try to channel that anger into smiles. Sometimes it comes out as verbal typos. Anyway, this is not a Christian nation. In fact, the moment America becomes a Christian nation, it will cease to be America. So keep an eye out. I wrote an op-ed for Religion Dispatches. Right now, it's an open letter to CNN. Don't know if it's going to stay that way. We shall see. Reread The Founding Myth if you haven't, particularly the chapter on the colonies. I believe it's chapter 4 or 5. And yeah, definitely pre-order a copy of the paper book. Pre-orders are hugely important. That's how bookstores decide how many of the book they're actually going to order. And they usually order like at least 3 for every pre-order. So if you order a pre-order, you're ordering 3 books, which really helps me out. Feel free to super chat. I'm going to get to those and some of the other questions right now. Has Jenny Thomas been arrested yet? Well, so JM, that was just the first question I saw. Please go ahead and just tell people in the chat who Jenny Thomas is. If you want to keep up with people who have been who took part in the January 6th insurrection, George Washington University has I don't know exactly what it's called. They have a program on extremism, and they actually track all of the different cases, federal and state, that have been brought against people who took part in the insurrection. And they post a lot of those court documents, including, for instance, the affidavits that the FBI agents used to swear out their arrest warrants and things like that. So you can go there and see and read those. I've read nearly all of them at this point in my deep dive into the Christian nationalism motivation for January 6th. Okay. Rebecca's question about creating the United States because they wouldn't let them have slaves. Not quite, Rebecca, but again, I would suggest I do have quite a few chapters on the slavery issue in the Founding Myth. Well, hey, here, you know what? And let's say this too, because this is really important. The colonial time span is really, really deceptive for us. Because to us, everything that happened back then before the founding, around the founding, is old, right? It's old, so it seems close together. But the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, if my math and dates are right, not my strong point, either one. If my math and dates are right, the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock 167 years before the Constitutional Convention. So to put that in perspective, that means that we are closer in time to the start of the Civil War than the Founding Fathers were to the Pilgrims. Okay? I mean, so that's really hard. And they didn't have as good a history as we did. The history that the founders did have, when they looked back at what the Pilgrims and Puritans did, to them, that was an example of what not to do. Like, this is a terrible way to run a government, to have a government enforcing religious law. I mean, Thomas Jefferson actually wrote about this, and he criticized Virginia too, his home state. He said, Virginia could have been like this, and it was basically an accident of history that we weren't this bad. Our state was very bad at persecuting people as well. So anyway, think about that when you're hearing this. Like, the idea that the Puritans and the Pilgrims actually influence the Constitution of the United States is really utter nonsense. And there's another part to this too, and I this may or may not get it into the final op-ed, is that like many of the historians who wrote American history through our history were New Englanders. They were educated at Yale and Harvard, some of them at Princeton. Not a slur on you, Kevin Cruz. Kevin Cruz is wonderful. He actually, the chapter on the 1950s in the founding myth, Kevin Cruz I had to rewrite it because of his book, because his book is so amazing and really brought a lot of new stuff to light. And he was kind enough to read it and edit that for me and offer some suggestions. Anyway, it's untenable, the idea that the Puritans and the Pilgrims really influenced the founding documents of the United States in any meaningful way. It's an accident of storytelling, if anything, that we put so much stock in the Mayflower Compact. Okay, so I'm going to just check that. Oh, there's a supermoon tonight. I did not know this. And you're watching it in Yosemite. Okay, so Leonard Skinner in the chat is checking out this supermoon in Yosemite. Yosemite is one of my favorite places in the whole United States. I really, really love it. Nico has just dropped in a chat. Oh, wow, $25. Nico, thank you so much. That's really kind. I love you and your work, Andrew. Please keep fighting the good fight. My introduction to you was the Ark Park Visit. Yeah, the Ark Park Visit. So for those of you who don't know, I visited Ken Ham's Ark Park for my day job, which I am not doing. This is all me and my Andrew personal capacity, sitting here in my personal home having a beverage. And in that day job, I went to the Ark Park. I filmed a commercial for my day job there. And Ken Ham got very, very upset with me. It created a whole thing. Sparks were flying, not those kind of sparks. Get your mind out of the gutter. Though somebody, not me, I did not do this. I'm not voguing. Trying to draw an X on my face. Did write erotic fiction about Ken Ham and me under the pen name Justin Beavers. Again, not me. You can find it still. I think it's Ken Ham and the Seidel Man, I want to say. So there's that. Anyway. Okay. Anthony Affelbach asked, what's the current makeup of, I believe that's judges, Republican versus Democrat appointments, percentage of Trump appointees, how many vacancies does Biden have to fill? So there are currently about almost exactly 100 judicial vacancies that Biden can fill. That includes expected, so announcements or people that we expect to drop. But if you want exact numbers, Alliance for Justice, AFJ, has exact numbers on the breakdown. Trump has appointed a quarter of the federal judiciary, 25%. I believe the number is higher at the circuit court level, closer to 30%. And their power, there's just a new article talking about that their power is not going to peak for quite a while. Because they're going to advance and become more senior on the courts and have more greater roles and more influence. It's deeply alarming. I mean, that is the relic that we are going to be left with from the Trumpian wave of Christian nationalism. So it really is something to be afraid of, and a reason to support the Judiciary Act of 2021. I know Nancy Pelosi said some nasty things about it. You should all be calling your senators, all be calling your representatives, hopefully a couple times a week, to tell them that you want them to support it and pass it. The courts are already packed. The courts are already packed. Trump packed the courts. McConnell packed the courts. The Federalist Society packed the courts. That's already been done. We're talking about correction and expansion now. So, okay. What else? It's really, I gotta say, it's hard to follow the chat. I see why people have moderators and wonderful people like that to help them out. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's just a whole lot of problems with Rick Santorum's stuff today, everybody. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to get into the Supreme Court's decisions today because I completely got sidetracked by Rick Santorum. He completely railroaded me. I am watching the Supreme Court to see if the Fulton decision comes down. The next day for decisions is not until Thursday. So this is the Fulton versus Philadelphia case. That's the next big one that I'm really deeply worried about, and will be working both in my day job and in free time to refute. This is Catholic Social Services, which is a branch of the Catholic Church, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, is demanding the right to contract with the city to provide services to vet foster families, and demanding not only the right to that contract, but then demanding the ability to discriminate on the basis of their religion after they've received that contract, so that they don't have to vet LGBTQ families, for instance. That is not how the question is presented before the court, and that is not how I expect the court to address that question. I expect them to completely alter the facts and reality to better fit to reverse engineer the outcome. And so, anyway, I'm worried about. That's the one I'm worried about. That's what I'm watching the Supreme Court for. Justin A. Hi, Andrew. Just want to say hi. Thanks. Oh, thank you, Justin, very much. I'm really happy to hear that The Founding Myth is one of your most cherished books. That means a lot to me. My favorite compliment as an author is when people tweet me or send me photos of their copies of The Founding Myth, and it's all dog-eared and underlined and highlighted and tabbed. And that's just like one of my favorite things. If people do want a signed copy of The Founding Myth as a gift, there are still a few of those available from the Freedom from Religion Foundation if you order through their website, ffrf.org. or ffrf.us/founding myth, I think. Anyway, when you're checking out, you can leave a little note and say, I'd like Andrew to sign this. I'd like him to personalize it, and I can do a personalized copy, all that good stuff. So I'm happy to do that and want to make that happen for folks. Belgarath asked, please tell me you're going to do a God awful movie crossover episode. Don't tease us on Twitter. I mean, everybody agreed to my. I said so. Lot awful movies. Bosnick said, if you got to come on now because we were in the New York Times. I said, if you agree to my terms, it's a Lot Awful movie crossover, and it's a God Awful movie, and we watch Suing the Devil, which is like the worst movie of all time. I will agree to do that. One of the worst movies. There's so many bad ones. Trolls too. Anyway, which is not about trolls, about goblins. Anyway, that, as far as I know, is happening. Everybody agreed, at least in principle on Twitter. There was a meeting of the minds. We just got to hammer out the details and figure out when people have free time, which may not be for a while, given the craziness of my current schedule. However, we will be able to make that happen for sure. I'm excited about it. I actually used to host here at my house what I will call here a bad Christian movie night, excrementitious Christian movie night. And this started back in 2012. We watched movies like this, like God's Not Dead, etc., and Mystery Science Theater 3000 then. It was a lot of fun. So this is kind of right up my alley. I'm excited about that one. Okay, we are just about out of time. Let me just double check. I'm sorry for the snafus on the tech, everybody. I'll have to I don't know what to do about that. Maybe I'll figure it out. It was all me. You know what? I'm a lawyer. I'm not a videographer. But I do know you should smash that subscribe button. I'm going to move over to my private Zoom call with the lovely people who support me monthly on Buy Me a Coffee. It's a lot of fun. It's a face-to-face chat. I love this too, but I actually get to see their faces over there, so the conversation seems a little bit less one-sided. And this is, anybody who contributes monthly, I do that for over there. So if you want to do that, support me on Buy Me a Coffee. Check out the other videos on this channel, and please like, subscribe, share. I really appreciate it. Check out the other parts of the channel. And until then, we'll have another Libations and Conversation next month. But until then, remember, life is too good to waste on bad ideas.